Global tensions are running high. North Korea has sent shockwaves through the international community after launching a hypersonic missile. The missile traveled 600 miles, soaring over the waters between South Korea and Japan, reaching an estimated speed of Mach 12. Images of the rocket blasting off, broadcasted by North Korean television, have startled international observers, especially since this event coincides with US Secretary of State Antony Blinken's visit to South Korea. Pyongyang's message to Washington and its allies appears clear. Any attempt to impose their will be met with advanced technologies once considered exclusive to major powers. North Korea has sparked concerns on the geopolitical stage after launching a hypersonic missile that traveled approximately 600 miles between the waters of South Korea and Japan, reaching an estimated speed of Mach 12. Footage of the rocket, broadcasted on North Korean state television, surprised the international community, particularly because this event coincided with the visit of US Secretary of State Antony Blinken to South Korea. Pyongyang's message seems clear. Any attempt to impose its will on the regime will have to contend with advanced weaponry, previously exclusive to a select group of technological powers. The most striking aspect of this development is that North Korea, a country subjected to sanctions and embargoes for decades, has managed to develop technology capable of overcoming the anti-missile systems in which NATO and the United States have invested billions of dollars. Meanwhile, the Pentagon, despite its enormous military budget, has yet to produce an operational hypersonic missile, which has caused surprise and embarrassment in the West, where Pyongyang's technological potential was underestimated. Many questions arise. How has a country labeled as poor or backward by Western media managed to join the exclusive group of nations with hypersonic capability? One prevailing theory suggests that Russia may have provided some of the technology, perhaps through consultations or the partial handover of blueprints. Although Moscow would not have sent engineers directly, it is speculated that it provided crucial documents and materials for the development of this weaponry, strengthening North Korea's deterrent capability against its adversaries. This possibility has heightened NATO's concerns, especially because it is also known that countries like Iran and Yemen have obtained similar knowledge and have made progress in the manufacture of drones and missiles, despite strict sanctions regimes. This highlights that economic isolation does not always stop technological development. On the contrary, it can encourage the search for alliances with partners willing to share knowledge to challenge the Western bloc. The hypersonic missile test demonstrates that North Korea has not only achieved supersonic speeds, but has also managed to develop mid-flight maneuverability that operates at over 60 miles in altitude. This ability to change trajectory in the air makes conventional radars and anti-missile systems, designed to intercept more predictable trajectories, ineffective. Furthermore, combining this technology with Pyongyang's nuclear capability significantly increases the threat level. In this context, the international community, including the Biden administration and the South Korean government, has strongly condemned this action. However, great uncertainty remains about how to counter a missile that, in practice, is extremely difficult to detect and intercept. This event coincides with similar advances in Russia and China, which have developed hypersonic drones and missiles, while the United States seems to be lagging behind. The Pentagon, with its colossal budget, has not managed to get past the testing phase, and its defensive systems installed in places like Poland raise doubts about their effectiveness. This raises questions about whether the perception of the United States as a military superpower is still valid in a world where other nations are advancing rapidly. Meanwhile, the war in Ukraine continues to drain Western resources without clear results for Kyiv. Even in Washington and Brussels, there is speculation about possible territorial pacts with Russia to end the conflict, which would weaken NATO's credibility. This pattern of failed sanctions is repeated in countries like Iran, Cuba, and North Korea, which, despite restrictions, have managed to innovate and maintain internal stability. The case of North Korea highlights how a country subjected to international pressure has managed to master hypersonic technology. Other examples, like Yemen, which has used drones against Saudi Arabia, and Iran, which is developing long-range missiles, reinforce the idea that restrictions can foster technological creativity. In this context, North Korea has leveraged its relationship with Russia to strengthen its strategic position in Asia, while South Korean politics faces internal tensions and criticism over its dependence on Washington. The possibility of a North Korean hypersonic missile targeting Japan or US bases in the region highlights the risk of miscalculation with devastating consequences. This phenomenon also reflects a shift towards a multipolar world, where sanctioned countries collaborate to challenge Western hegemony. Paradoxically, sanctions have driven these nations together, now sharing resources and technology to circumvent blockades. In Africa, resistance to the European military presence is another example of this shift. Leaders like Emmanuel Macron have criticized the ingratitude of some countries, but the rejection reflects a shift in global power dynamics. Traditional strategies of sanctioning and threatening seem less effective and sometimes counterproductive. The North Korean hypersonic missile symbolizes the shattering of the illusion of Western technological superiority. Russia, China, Iran, and other countries have shown that advanced weapons are not exclusive to certain nations. The bureaucracy of the Pentagon contrasts with the advances of countries like North Korea, which have exceeded expectations. In a constantly evolving global context, the relationship between North Korea and Vladimir Putin's Russia is becoming increasingly relevant. While at first glance it may seem like an unlikely alliance, their mutual disdain for Western dominance and shared strategic interests have fostered a bond that cannot be ignored. Historically isolated, North Korea's technological advancements have piqued Russia's interest. In return, Russia provides North Korea with critical resources, from energy supplies to diplomatic support. This symbiotic relationship has allowed North Korea to circumvent international sanctions and continue its missile development program unabated. But what does Putin gain from this alliance? For Russia, North Korea serves as a strategic buffer against Western influence in the Asia-Pacific region. By supporting North Korea, Russia can indirectly challenge the United States and its allies without a direct confrontation. Furthermore, this partnership sends a powerful message. Nations marginalized by the West can find strength in unity. It signals a broader shift toward multipolarity, where power is distributed more equally across the globe. As North Korea continues to test its missile capabilities, the world watches with bated breath. The North Korea-Putin connection is not just a geopolitical curiosity. It is a harbinger of a new world order, where alliances are fluid and power structures are constantly evolving. Ultimately, the relationship between North Korea and Putin's Russia exemplifies the complexities and subtleties of modern geopolitics. It reminds us that, in the ever-shifting landscape of international relations, alliances can be both a source of strength and a catalyst for uncertainty.